to the What's Next Living Longer, Better, Smarter podcast. I'm Fred Fishkin along with Mary Furlong. Hi again, Mary.
Hi, Fred. Great to be here today.
It sure is great. And this edition is sponsored by AARP Innovation Labs, fostering the growth of disruptive startups that empower people to choose how they live as they age. Our topic, vaccinations and celebrations, connecting again. Our guests are Dr. David Rhew, Global Chief Medical Officer and Vice President of Healthcare at Microsoft. Great to see you again, Dr. Rhew.
Thank you, Fred.
And from a company called Daily Haloha, founder Amy Giddon. Thanks for joining us, Amy.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
And we will also have a couple of special guests talking about a very special celebration. First, let's turn to Dr. Rhew. Here we are in the month of June, and I think many of us are starting to feel like butterflies coming out of a cocoon.
Absolutely. It's been amazing, the impact that the vaccine has had on the virus, decreasing the amount of infection, allowing us to be able to have better control of our lives, and allowing us to think about what we can do in terms of socializing and getting back together. So it's been really that light at the end of the tunnel that we've all been waiting for.
So I know you face these questions at Microsoft and perhaps from friends and family too. We all have many friends and family members who are fully vaccinated, but still, if we plan get-togethers, maybe not all of the adults have been vaccinated or all of the teens, and still none of the younger children. So confusion, still a little bit of worry, what's safe, what's not. And you hear different mixed messages from the news channels on TV as well, from different people who come on. So tell us what your take is. What do you tell people?
Well, I think the first thing that we all have to realize is that we continue to learn about what needs to be done from a public health perspective every day. And, we have to expect that knowledge and it will change and recommendations will change. So what may at one point have seemed to be the best recommendation, as we get more information, we realize that it's safer to be able to congregate even without your masks if you've been vaccinated. But the challenge that we run into is a lot of folks have not been vaccinated, and unfortunately they will, for a variety of reasons, continue to be at high risk for both not only acquiring it, but potentially getting some serious adverse events from that. And we have to find ways that we can address those questions, those concerns, and make sure that it's done in a way that allows us to respect the fact that people may have different opinions, but make sure that the decisions are informed.
So if people are vaccinated, do we need to be going around still with face masks? A lot of stores aren't requiring it now, but there are still some people who feel more comfortable wearing a mask.
Well, again, this is part of the reason why, in many ways, it is an individual discussion. From a public health standpoint, if you've been vaccinated, and so long as you don't have an immune system that's been compromised and you can mount a full antibody response and you've waited at least 2 weeks afterwards, you should be good to go and be able to go without that mask. Now, keep in mind, there's just still a lot of variables that we still recognize. And the fact that there are a good number of people that do have suppressed immune systems, and we haven't yet been able to vaccinate all the people across the entire nation. And we continue to see folks coming in that will continue to see virus circulating. So we shouldn't feel as a society that we've got this thing beat, even if our numbers are pretty high, because we'll continue to see instances in which the virus will perhaps penetrate certain pockets within the population and ultimately lead to outbreaks. So let's keep our vigilance. But let's also start enjoying the benefits of vaccination.
So I've been thinking a lot about taking a vacation, as have many people. Do you have some advice about going on an airplane or going on vacation? And also, a lot of boomers have been postponing their health screenings, right? and older people. So is it time to go back to the doctor?
So again, I'm just going to have to defer to CDC and other public health recommendations regarding anything related to travel. Latest recommendations are that if you've been vaccinated, you can start considering taking those trips and moving about. But keep in mind that you may be moving or traveling to areas that in which the vaccination rates are low and in which the virus may be circulating and perhaps even variants. So just keeping those things in mind. I would say that much of what we're learning today is still an evolution. I think it's exciting, though, that we have an opportunity to be able to start thinking about travel. I personally am traveling tomorrow, so I can't imagine getting on a plane again. And I know that people will have just a series of awkward moments in terms of trying to figure out, do I wear that mask? Do I not wear the mask? And for me personally, if when you're in closed quarters, it's a good idea just to keep that mask on.
I think so too. Talk a little bit about grandchildren. So people who have small babies around them, what advice do you give to them? Because the little ones haven't been vaccinated yet.
Right. Well, and again, I'm going to defer again to any type of guidelines or CDC recommendations on this. But what we do know is that younger children have a much more robust immune system. So they are able to fend off the virus at a much higher rate than older individuals. And oftentimes they have much less serious illness because of that. So that's the good news. And, certainly as we've been looking at vaccination rates or vaccination age ranges getting lowered, we're seeing more and more kids, in particular the adolescents now eligible 12 and over. So that's great. And soon, hopefully, there's expectations that it'll continue to go lower. So we know that the virus or the vaccine has been highly effective in adults. We now know it's effective and safe in kids. And soon, a large number of us, whether you were young or old, will be all vaccinated. And that's going to allow us the opportunity to be able to take advantage of the fact that we're getting together and not wearing our masks and able to enjoy our company.
Well, I wanted to ask you about the holdouts that are out there. I mean, there are reports now that President Biden may not be able to reach his goal of having 70% of the population vaccinated by the 4th of July, which is really what he wanted. And for a while, it looked like he was going to make it almost easily, but things have slowed down. What do you tell people that you may encounter, or maybe they won't admit to you that they're reluctant to get vaccinated?
Well, one of the things we have to recognize is that the vaccination rates, the process of getting a vaccine was something that was geared towards those that have both the capability and the means to receive the vaccine. So to get the appointment, first of all, you needed to have a computer. You needed to understand where to go, and perhaps even a family member that could schedule that. Now, that may seem pretty basic for most, but for some folks, they don't even have broadband. So this is a big challenge. So I feel like we're getting to the point right now where we're starting to realize that there are barriers. And then just beyond the technological, there are many people who have questions about the way that the vaccine was developed. We should answer those, and we should answer those in a culturally sensitive way. There are, for a variety of reasons, doubts and questions about, is there an ulterior motive? And so long as we have trusted resources that are empowered with the right information to be able to answer them and allow people to share their thoughts, we can address some of those issues around hesitancy. But it's also around convenience and accessibility. We know that we need to make sure that this is something that's easier to access for many folks. When we think of access, we oftentimes think of it as location, but it's also time. Some people during the time of day may not be available to have a vaccine shot. Perhaps they're working during the day, and that's the time in which the clinics are open. So, that might be a barrier. It just may be that we haven't thought through all the factors of why people haven't gone and gotten received their vaccines. In fact, there was a recent study that looked at, in this case, Hispanics, a Latinx population, and they found that they were, of those that hadn't been vaccinated, they were twice as likely as the white counterparts to want the vaccine right now. So it really had, in this scenario, nothing to do with real hesitancy. It was just accessibility. And we need to figure out ways to not only, provide the vaccines, but deliver them to the people where they are and at a time and with some convenience that allows them to be able to receive it.
And maybe in a language that they speak. So there's multiplicity of languages. And so I know you've been an advocate and a frequent speaker on digital health. So how do you see digital health moving the needle during the pandemic?
No pun intended, Mary.
Well, you're right. And language is a huge part of this. And it has to be delivered by individuals who are trusted with that longstanding trust, that relationship you have with that individual. And what we found is that places that, such as schools, are underutilized. Schools have that longstanding trust, and we now have an opportunity to start thinking about how schools can be used to leverage and provide vaccinations. And what we oftentimes think of as schools as being, well, that's just for the kids. Well, because in many of these neighborhoods, they're multi-generational families living into the same household, you actually have an opportunity to vaccinate grandma, grandpa, parents, brothers, sisters, and the student all at the same time. And these are the strategies that we're starting to realize that are so critical. We have to find ways to provide the vaccine, identify who is it that can actually help transport the person or deliver that person to the vaccination site, or in some cases, just allow that to happen. And when we answer and address those concerns, we have an opportunity. Now, with regards to technology is critical to enable us to be able to provide communications to the people who need them. So if you have got, let's say, physicians or other healthcare workers, they certainly may have access. But if I'm talking to someone within the church or individuals, volunteers, they will need to have the tools and information to be able to communicate this appropriately, and then schedule it. You want to schedule those appointments and allow people to be able to get those appointments when they're available. And I think that's another big part of what we're trying to do, enable the vaccination management systems to be able to then be delivered efficiently. Could be done in a pop-up version, could be done in a mobile clinic, could be done in a parking lot. But all of that has to be enabled through technology.
I've read that there are some concerns now about cases going up a little bit higher in the UK, which had things really under control before. Are you concerned about what the fall and the winter might bring, or are we overconfident about it, most of us?
Well, I think we should be aware that in all likelihood, during the summer months, because people will be congregating inside on those really hot days, perhaps maybe with not as much ventilation, and in those unvaccinated areas, that the risk of spread will likely increase. And there are many experts that do believe that come this fall, we'll start seeing an increase, if not a surge, in certain areas throughout the world. So I would say it's a very reasonable concern to have. And at the same time, we need to think about the variants. Some of these variants are far more infectious and resistant and potentially resistant to some of the known treatments. Now, fortunately, the variants that we have today are the current vaccination, the vaccines, specifically the Pfizer, the Moderna, the mRNA ones, tend to work well against them. Now, what we're recognizing is that things will continue to evolve, and so we have to stay on top of that. And those may infect individuals that could then spread this in terms of like super spreader events. We know about half of these infections are in asymptomatic individuals. So if we could make sure that those individuals are vaccinated first and foremost, and if not, then following public health policies regarding mask wearing, social distancing, avoiding large gatherings, and if they're in a room, having good ventilation.
Thanks so much, Dr. Rhew. I guess the message is don't get overconfident about it. It may not be all over, but in the meantime, we can start doing some things with a degree of normalcy once again.
Absolutely. And we are, I'd say in many ways, just starting to figure out how to get back to normal. We know we can. I think many of us are trying to take advantage of it, but at the same time, we're also trying to be careful.
I want to thank you for your leadership in this great session. That was very informative. And I think it's what we needed to hear. I loved seeing my family around the table together, but I also hadn't thought about the air conditioning in the summer and people being inside. So you raised a lot of good points. So thank you for being with us today.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Well, we want to turn to Amy at Daily Haloha. You've been part of the AARP Innovation Labs, Amy. Give us some background about the company, what you do.
Yeah, sure. It's so nice to be with you all today. I've been so lucky to be part of the AARP Innovation Lab. It's been an incredible experience for me and the other entrepreneurs. I have not always been an entrepreneur. Most of my career was in the corporate sector in financial services and management consulting. So this is quite a change for me. And I changed to entrepreneurship because I had an idea that felt really important and really in line with my values. And the only way to do it was to do it. So I'm surprised as anybody that I have a startup. It's a tech startup. It's called Daily Haloha, and it's delivered in a mobile application. And it's an app for human connection. It offers up a daily routine for all the participants to self-reflect, but together. Self-reflect and share and get perspective from all the other participants. So it's a 2-minute uplifting, simple daily routine of togetherness.
Describe for us the user experience.
Yes, so I have the great honor and responsibility of posing one thought-provoking question to the whole world every day. And it is quite global. We're in 160 countries now. And then based on that single question that unites everybody, you go through this quick 3-step process. The first is just self-reflection. You answer the question. It's in the fill in the blank format. If anybody was a Mad Libs fan, I was. It's like a Mad Lib. So you answer the question and then you give it a mood, and that maps to a color. And that's step 1 is just me with me. And step 2, you send it off into the Haloha verse, we call it. And your thought gets delivered randomly and anonymously to one other person in the world. And you instantly get one back from someone else. And you exchange connection stickers to let that person know that they were seen and heard by one other real human on the planet. So this is a moment of me and you. It's about reciprocity, kind of pay it forward. And then the last of the steps is to see what everybody said. We have a Haloha wall where all the responses to that single question accumulate as people answer. So it's a chance to feel uplifted. Often you feel less alone because you'll see people that think like you do. You might be a little surprised. It might increase your perspective when you see some responses that are quite different than your own. So one question to the world, 3 steps of a daily routine to feel a little bit more connected to yourself and the rest of the world.
Tell us about one of the questions, and then tell us what you saw during the pandemic. Wasn't there a question about love, right?
Oh, we recently had a question about love. It was just so wonderful. You know, people sometimes ask me, like, what was your favorite question that you asked? And of course, it's like asking who my favorite child is. Like, they're all wonderful. But during the pandemic, every couple of months, I would ask a question directly related to the pandemic, almost like a temperature taking, a pulse check about how everybody was feeling. And Mary, that was really eye-opening. Because I think we know that the pandemic affected people so differently. I mean, I guess it's not surprising. Our audience is very intergenerational. We have students, we've got parents of young children, and we have grandparents. So people experience the pandemic so differently based on their demographic or their very particular circumstances. I heard thoughts from people that were like, finally, the introverts are having a moment. The world has slowed down to a pace that I feel comfortable with. And then there were people that were really vulnerable in their struggle dealing with social isolation and feeling cut off and everything in between. So I really did like asking those questions because people needed to have a channel to express how they were feeling in the moment. And unlike social media, we are a very welcoming, safe place to express yourself. We're without judgment, without status. We don't capture your attention or serve ads. We're meant to be a very different experience. So people really showed up in their full vulnerability. And I think they felt less alone by having the chance to hear from all the different perspectives around the world.
And you got some great definitions of what love was, right?
Oh, so we asked a quite direct question about what love meant. And it was so interesting to hear that in the context of the pandemic. And yeah, some people went right to thinking about romantic love and their most intimate relationships. A lot of people talked about the love of with their platonic friendships, because those are the relationships that they were missing the most, during the pandemic. And then some people got very philosophical about love and tried to define it in terms of how it felt to them, how it felt in their body, how it helped them navigate their day, what it meant to them to feel, strong sense of bonding with other people. So, it was very poignant and poetic. It really brought out the poet in everyone.
So do you keep a scribble pad by the nightstand? How do you come up with these questions?
You know what, Fred? I absolutely do. I get inspiration everywhere. So I'm constantly like, wait, hold on a minute. I have to write that down. So, we root our questions in positivity and positive psychology. So I ask a lot of questions to help people connect with what's positive in their life, what's positive, and what are their strengths, what's going well. And we also talk about memories, which are so beautiful, and hopes and dreams for the future. We talk about beauty and creativity, things that are really deeply human, because things that we all share across space and time and demographics, the emotions of love and hope, and even, nostalgia. So I have a scratch pad pretty much everywhere I go.
I wonder, Dr. Rhew, what do you think about this approach to connecting everyone?
I love it. Anytime we can tap into the personal, the emotional, it's so rewarding, and I feel like we don't do enough of that. So I'm really excited to hear about the work that you're all doing, Amy.
Thank you so much. It's been so rewarding to me personally, and I know that we've helped people feel more connected, so it feels wonderful.
I guess can they connect if they want to, Amy, through Daily Haloha, or is it always anonymous?
Right now, it's always anonymous because people tell me that they really appreciate being in a space like that, where they don't have to worry or wonder what anyone else is thinking about them, where they can show up authentically. So it's kind of a way to feel this almost ambient sense of connection with people all over the world without having to worry about ending up in an unwanted conversation. So right now, we don't connect people directly.
So people would find this where?
Yeah, we're on the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store, and we're free now and forever to download, and we're ad-free, and it's a 3-minute daily ritual of connection, and we welcome everyone.
Talking about connections, after losing so many opportunities for celebrations over the last year or more, we want to welcome back to the podcast Pat Stenson and her mom, Jean. Hi, Pat. Hi, Jean.
Now we're here.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Hi there.
Hi.
How are you?
And
Welcome back.
Mary said, welcome back.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to be the Joan Rivers of your podcast, the guest that doesn't ever go away.
that would be wonderful. Now, you managed, despite the pandemic, to celebrate a really, really big birthday. Tell us about this.
Well, you asked me how I managed it, and I decided it was with a lot of subterfuge and whispering and text, because my mom just turned, how old are you?
100.
100.
Yes.
And, when you're anticipating someone's 100th birthday, you think you're going to have a big party. And unfortunately, that was not going to be the case this year because her birthday is at the end of March. And last year we were going to have a 99th birthday party for her, and it was all set up at the Golden Gate Yacht Club in San Francisco, care of Mary's thoughtful help. And we had it all set. Everybody was coming who was invited. It was just going to be family, but big family. And then we're getting, oh, everybody's getting sick. Oh, you shouldn't go out and party. So we're like, should we cancel? Should we not? And we ended up canceling because of COVID-19. And that was a big disappointment. So my sister and I put our heads together, and my sister Peggy and I put our heads together. I was going to say her name later. I have something. And we emailed invitations out to a lot of people, a lot of family, friends. My mother was involved in many different circles of life in her long existence here. And she used to golf, so we invited her golf friends, and we used to be swimmers, so we invited swim people, we invited neighbors, we invited everybody. And we
It
invited
sounds like you
them.
just told us the secret to making it to 100.
Well, yeah, being involved, yeah. So
Never stop.
yeah, don't stop. And then we asked them, instead of coming to a party, to come to a virtual party and to send a video saying happy birthday, or we love you, or this is what you meant to me, Jean. And my sister Peggy had a videographer compile everything, and we put all these videos together as one big long video, very long video. And she has a lot of friends, and so
they like to talk.
yeah, they do like to talk. And so we got videos, notes, cards, photos from long ago and from last week to put in this video greeting for my mom. And we also planned a car parade via the emails, and asked people who were local if they wanted to come by and just drive through our driveway and say hello, happy birthday. And if they weren't local and they still wanted to do it, sure, come. So
Pat, I hear that things got so rowdy with your parade that the police were called. Was that your fault, Jean?
Was that your fault, Mom, that the police came?
Yes, I summoned them. I didn't know what was going forward in my front yard.
She was surprised because she didn't know. We had a dinner on her birthday with my brothers and sisters and their significant others. And then on Saturday after her birthday is when we had this big celebration. So, okay, so this is the invitation that we sent out to invite people to come. And then we had very long messages in the invitation to say, okay, well, don't actually come to our house, just make a video or something. And then the morning of the party, the lawn sign people came, and this is a sign that was made possible by the generosity of the people I work with, Mary Furlong and Associates. And so my mom goes, where did that come from? And, oh, it just appeared. So then here's some of the people from the car parade. Here's the police right here at the top. And some of our neighbors came, and some of our relatives came from like South San Francisco and Novato And so, and some of our friends. So it was really nice to have all these people come by. And what'd you think about that, Mom?
Well, I was very surprised to be the recipient of so much fun and all the people coming and from the various avenues of acquaintance, so to speak. And I think the neighbors were very relieved to find out what was going on. And that number 100 made them feel a lot better. They didn't think that it was a cortege that was on its way to Queen of Heaven anyway. So.
Okay, yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
All right. So here's some other people ventured out during the pandemic. Here's my mom. She was sitting in her throne and getting.
That looks like a familiar face next to her, Mary.
Yeah. Mary's standing right next to you here.
Yeah, I had the privilege of attending. It was really fun. And at that point in time, you were just so glad you could be part of the celebration. Although you notice we all have masks but there was a lot of love in that driveway. I can tell you that.
There really was. It was the whole thing was such a surprise. They made me rush and get dressed, get out there. You gotta get out there. They're going to be here.
And I love this part, Fred, because Pat, you involved your whole family, and so tell us some of the other ways they contributed.
Well, it turns out Mary told me that I could get a birthday greeting from the White House, which I didn't realize. So I told my sister Peggy about it, and we both happened to write emails and try to get on the list. And so one of us succeeded. So we got a birthday card from Joe Biden, and my sister put my mom's announcement in the newspaper. And then one of my friends put together, get out of there, these labels on a Smucker jar, like Gene Stenson, 100 years old, Pleasant Hill, California, like Willard Scott used to do in the old days. So that was fun. That was really kind of funny. Everybody got a good chuckle out of that. And then we decorated the backyard, and we played cornhole, and took pictures, and had sandwich bar, and my friend volunteered and made us a bunch of cupcakes so everybody could have what they wanted. This is mostly my family. This is my sister Regina next to my mom with her two sons, if anybody can see this, and my brother down in the middle. So anyway, we just were outside. Everybody had been vaccinated who was old enough, and then a couple of these younger generations had like teachers, so they were vaccinated too. So we got these kids wore their masks. They were pretty good, but we didn't have to all wear masks. But it was really fun because it was so casual and nice. And then at the end, we all gathered around the sign. We sang happy birthday. I'm not going to put you through that, but we did have just a little happy greeting for my mom. So it was a lot of fun. I think my mom and I are still recovering. Yay! Anyway, it took us about a week to get back on our feet, I think, because it was a lot for her. It was a long day, but it was a fun day. And we were lucky that it was sort of at the tail end of confinement, and things were a little bit looser, and that a lot of people had been vaccinated. So that was very helpful. And you can't let someone's 100th birthday go by without some kind of hoo-ha. So
especially when you turn 90, and I did, as I did, and I threw myself a big party. And the first question they ask you is, what are you going to do on your 100th? So you got 10 years of that, so you better come through. It came to a question now, what are you going to do for your 95th, 95 or 99? That's a very good number. Let's celebrate that. And I thought, oh, these guys are hedging their bets. You never know. I better come through. So that was the party that didn't happen. Mary and Fred were right in there on the whole thing. But But anyway,
Jean,
everything turned out well.
Jean, we have a lot of older adult. We have a lot of older adult listeners to our podcast. What?
The thing to do is have 7 children and turn them loose.
That sounds good. But you also listen to books, and you obviously have a very vibrant family. What was your secret to living to be 100?
Oh, I don't know. Just what's my motto? Take your gin straight and your coffee black.
I like that. Thank you so much for sharing this story. It was wonderful to be a part of the car parade, and it's wonderful to have you in our life. And also, thank you, Pat, because Pat has been such a good caregiver to you and a good part of our team.
I couldn't do it without Pat. She's my prop and my stay.
None of us could. And I still remember the day I recruited you, Pat, because, well, I didn't recruit you, you recruited me. We were at the farmer's market. And I said I was looking for an assistant, and you said, I'll take the job. But it's worked out well for both of us, or all of us. So
I tell people you hired me to run errands, and then you discovered I could read. So.
And write and everything else. And also the most important thing, that you care about older people, which we all do. So thank you. Over to you.
Thank you.
Well, I want to give Amy a chance, because she's been sitting there enjoying all of this celebration too, to say happy birthday. And you're all about connections, Amy, anonymous connections, maybe, but this kind of thing, I guess, is right in your wheelhouse.
Oh, 100%. I love this story. A very, very happy birthday to you, and many more, right?
Thank you.
I want to know what you're doing for your 105th birthday party.
We'll have to live to the vote in the next presidential election, she says.
Okay, it's good to have a goal. And I do love this story because, Fred, all the research shows how important human connection is to longevity, right? All the studies are now pretty much confirming what we already know, which is that it's relationships and human connection that gives us the will and desire to live long, healthy lives. So congratulations, very beautiful.
And Amy, Jean could be a resource to you on new questions, because she reads a lot. And so I love celebrating the wisdom and the talent of our older adults, and providing these role models for how we live as we get older.
I love that, because as I mentioned, we're very intergenerational, and there's not that many opportunities for younger people, young adults to have, we don't live in it with a council of elders anymore. So there's not a lot of opportunities to hear the wisdom of our most experienced citizens and community members. And likewise for older Americans to be reminded of the struggles and questions on the minds of youth. So I think it's really important to cross-fertilize, and I would love to pick your brain about questions that you'd like to pose.
Okay, you have to use your regular vocabulary though. She remembers all the really long words that she's ever read, and she uses them. So a lot of us don't know what she's talking about.
I can have a thesaurus handy during our conversation.
Oh, okay, that'd be good.
So thank you, everybody. This was a really important session, right? To learn about vaccinations from Dr. Rhew, to think about the connections that Amy has created, and to hear about this wonderful celebration. Over to you, Fred.
Well, we really want to thank Jean and Pat. Thank you. We can't thank you enough for taking the time to be with us. Really inspiring. And Amy at Daily Haloha. Yeah, tell us again how people find you, Amy.
Yeah, you can find us in the App Store and look for Daily Haloha with an H and give us a download. And if you want to check out more information, you can look at our website, www.dailyhaloha.com.
And of course, we want to thank Dr. David Rhew from Microsoft for joining us and providing us so much valuable information. Thank you as well to our sponsor, AARP Innovation Labs. And thank you for tuning in, and remember to subscribe.